In Lithuania, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol meets with NATO Chief Jens Stoltenberg, signing a new partnership for a range of cooperation encompassing security, science, and technology, with North Korea's nuclear aggression topping their agenda. The North Korean leader's powerful sister Kim Yo-jong inveighs against South Korea again in her recent statement. But what's unusual is her way of calling the South by its official name, the Republic of Korea, apparently carrying some political message. The cabinet approves a major change in the way TV license fees are collected in Korea, separating them from electricity bills. Public broadcaster KBS, heavily reliant on the fees, protests. It's July 11th, 2023. This is News Center. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is in the Lithuanian capital of Vilnius to attend the annual summit of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. A day before he attends the session for partner countries, he is taking steps to ramp up Seoul's relations with NATO as well as countries on a bilateral level to cooperate on pressing global issues. Our presidential office correspondent Oh Soo-young is in Vilnius at the Korea Press Center to fill us in. Soo-young, I understand the president had a busy morning upgrading South Korea's partnership with NATO.
Good evening, Tongmin. That's right. President Yoon met with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg on Tuesday morning here to elevate the two sides' bilateral relations from a cooperation arrangement they had for the past 11 years to a newly individually tailored partnership program, otherwise known as ITPP. Now, these include 11 areas of cooperation. First, the two sides have agreed to ramp up dialogue through regular working level and high-level meetings across diverse political and military affairs. They'll also increase joint counter-terrorism efforts and discussions on disarmament and non-proliferation. Other key areas include emerging technologies, namely artificial intelligence, space, missiles, and quantum technologies, along with cybersecurity. Building up the capacity for cooperation and military interoperability are also vital, as are science and tech, climate change, and women's roles in global peace and stability, along with public diplomacy. Now, this document marks a higher and broader level of cooperation for a NATO partner country, and the focus areas mentioned are also key to addressing North Korea's nuclear threat, according to a presidential official. Now, Yoon and Stoltenberg in particular, they discussed ways to ramp up information sharing as well as cyber defense cooperation, according to Yoon's office.
And Soo-young, those issues were certainly addressed when President Yoon met with U.S. officials earlier this morning. Do tell us more.
That's right. It's quite a funny story, actually. The president's spokesperson said that Yoon and First Lady Kim Gun-hee went for a stroll in the Old Town area of Vilnius, and they ran into U.S. Senator Pete Ricketts, as well as members of the U.S. delegation who were dining, then broke into songs singing American Pie, which the president performed in Washington, D.C., of course, back in April. He met with Senator Ricketts again this morning, but of course on a scheduled occasion, with 5 other U.S. lawmakers, including Angus King, Dick Durbin, and Dan Sullivan, who are here as part of the U.S.'s observer group for the NATO summit. Now, the presidential office said that the meeting reaffirmed the U.S. Congress's support for the 70th anniversary of the ROK-US alliance this year and established greater understanding of Korea's support for peace and reconstruction in Ukraine.
And he will be engaged in numerous diplomatic meetings. Now, eyes are on if and when the president will meet his U.S. and Japanese counterparts at the NATO summit as he tries to strengthen the North Korean nuclear agenda.
That's right. Mr. Yoon has made it very clear that he's going to be pushing for firmer global resolve against North Korea's growing nuclear and missile threat to not only the Korean Peninsula, but global security. In that regard, the South Korean leader has said that there will be several opportunities for him to engage with President Joe Biden. Now, there is a chance that the two leaders could meet at the banquet event for NATO's partner countries tonight, or that would be very early in the morning in Seoul, of course. A separate meeting with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is currently being arranged, with the agenda likely to include Tokyo's plan to release wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant into the ocean, which has, of course, been a huge concern, a bilateral sticking point. So I'll be keeping you updated on all of these, of course, but that's all from me for now. Back to you, Tongmin.
Thank you for keeping us updated, Soo-young. Take care out there. In other news, later this week, accompanying the South Korean president to Poland are a number of business leaders who expect to strengthen ties in a variety of sectors, including battery and defense. Our business correspondent Lee Dae-hyun has more.
With President Yoon Suk-yeol set to visit Poland in the coming days, business delegations from South Korea will be heading there too to discuss strengthening bilateral ties in energy, defense, and infrastructure. These delegations will include the chairman and chief executive of LG Gu Kwang-mo, Hanwha Group's vice chairman Kim Dong-kwan, and chairman of Ellis Group Gu Ja-eun. LG's affiliates, including LG Electronics and LG Energy Solution, currently run a total of 8 corporations in Poland with almost 9,000 employees. LG's production accounts for 1.8% of Poland's GDP of over $688 billion. In addition, LG Energy Solutions plant in the city of Wrocław is the biggest battery production site in Europe, and its production output surpassed 10 trillion won, or around $7.7 billion for the first time last year. LS Group, led by the chairman Gu Ja-eun, operates production plants for EV battery parts and fiber optical cable. The group's business in Poland continues to see growth, now standing at around $227 million in terms of monetary value. Its chairman visited Ellis Cable and System Poland Corporation in April to strengthen its position in the European EV ecosystem. Poland is also known for its defense sector. Hanwha Aerospace and the Polish government made a pact in August to export the K-9 Thunder, a South Korean self-propelled howitzer, and signed an additional contract to export multiple rockets to Poland in November, bringing the total to over $6 billion. Hyundai Rotem, which is supplying K2 Black Panther tanks to Poland, is expecting a contract extension in the second half of this year following its visit to Poland. Construction companies are also anticipating expanded business opportunities, as some Korean companies have already won contracts to build the biggest petrochemical plant in Poland. And with Poland launching a nuclear project, MOUs between the two countries are expected in next-generation energy sectors such as small modular reactors, which Korean companies are highly recognized for. Lee Dae-hyun, Arirang News.
On the sidelines of the NATO summit, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is scheduled to meet leaders from the United States, the European Union, and Canada, as Kyiv aims to join the security alliance as soon as possible after the war ends. Mr. Zelensky is set to arrive in Lithuania on Wednesday, the second day of the summit, hoping to get a clear signal on NATO members' intentions to bring Ukraine into the alliance. He has been stressing that Ukraine would be a valued NATO partner with the strongest armed forces in Europe, while some Eastern European NATO members are suggesting an early timetable to welcome Ukraine. Some states, such as the US and Germany, remain cautious, partly because of fears that moving too quickly on NATO membership could provoke a direct conflict with Russia. The North Korean leader's sister, Kim Yo-jong, in her latest statements, referred to South Korea as the Republic of Korea, its official full name, which is very unusual. Our Kim Mo-kyun reads between the lines on what could be the background behind this.
For the first time ever, North Korea has referred to South Korea by its full official name, the Republic of Korea, in an official setting. This was done during North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's sister Kim Yo-jong's latest statement that accused Seoul and Washington of sending U.S. spy jets into the regime's exclusive economic zone. Seoul's military flatly denied the accusation, saying the flights were part of regular surveillance activities. Kim's referral is in stark contrast to the past, as Pyongyang has long referred to Seoul as Namjoseon, which means South Korea. Such a reference had been deemed as a regime considering South Korea as part of an original single country subject to a tentative special relationship before reunification. But Kim Yo-jong's referencing the South as the ROK appears to indicate that Pyongyang is now considering Seoul a separate country. A North Korean expert says such a change could signal that North Korea will shift toward a so-called two-Korea policy, which seeks confrontational coexistence with South Korea instead of working to improve inter-Korean relations.
The fact that Kim Yo-jong called South Korea the ROK in an official statement could be clear evidence that North Korea is no longer interested in cooperating with South Korea as part of the same people.
Seoul's Unification Ministry says it will not prejudge Pyongyang's intentions, but will closely monitor the situation. The ministry, however, mentioned that North Korea recently rejected a request by the head of South Korea's Hyundai Group for a visit to Mount Kumgang in August through its foreign ministry instead of the Committee for Peaceful Reunification of the Fatherland, the agency that had been overseeing inter-Korean issues. Kim Mo-gyan, Arirang News.
High-profile officials of the ASEAN gathered in Indonesia today for talks on regional concerns related to Myanmar, the South China Sea, and much more. South Korea's Foreign Minister Park Jin will begin his agenda in Jakarta on Wednesday. Yoon with more.
The ASEAN senior officials meeting convened on Tuesday with senior officials from the 10 ASEAN countries and Timor-Leste in attendance ahead of the 56th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting. High on the agenda for Southeast Asia's top diplomats will be the crisis in Myanmar and the tensions in the South China Sea, with Japan's planned release of treated radioactive water from the Fukushima nuclear plant also set to be discussed. While South Korea has expressed that it respects the recent report from the IAEA, China is continuing its opposition, with a meeting arranged where Beijing will urge ASEAN members to put pressure on Tokyo to halt the water discharge plan. South Korean Foreign Minister Park Jin is also set to attend the meeting from Wednesday and will take part in a number of sideline meetings. He's scheduled to join the South Korean ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting and the ASEAN +3 meeting on Thursday, and will take part in the East Asia Summit meeting and the ASEAN Regional Forum on Friday. In between the sessions, Park could potentially hold separate bilateral talks with his Japanese and Chinese counterparts, where Japanese Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi may explain to Park the findings of the IAEA's report on Tokyo's plan to discharge contaminated water from the Fukushima nuclear plant, with South Korea also presenting its own assessment of the discharge plan. 이은진, Arirang News.
Here in Korea, households with TVs pay 2,500 won, which is about $2 every month, with their electricity bills as a TV license fee. This way of collecting the fee for watching public broadcasting stations has now been changed after 29 years, with a new revision signed into law separating them. Kim Do-yeon explains.
The government approved a revision to the TV license fee collection method on Tuesday, and now the mandatory 2,500 won, or around $2 per month, will no longer be collected automatically by being attached to electricity bills. This comes after the presidential office conducted an open discussion online for a month from March to April to see if the public supported the idea of separating the two.
Through this, it is expected that the public will clearly acknowledge the payment of the license fee and increase awareness of their rights regarding this fee. The separation started with the people raising concerns over the current system.
According to the presidential office, around 97% of more than 58,000 participants wanted a change to the current collection system. Following this, the government began pushing for change through the Korea Communications Commission, which last week approved the revision. This doesn't mean households with TVs won't be free from paying the license fee anymore. While a new method is being finalized to start as soon as possible, residents will be able to request to pay the two bills separately. The license fee collected is distributed mainly to KBS, the country's main public broadcaster, with a small portion going to the Educational Broadcasting System, or EBS. Last year, KBS collected more than $536 million in licensing fees, around 45% of its budget. While it is still mandatory with the diversified payment system, KBS could see a fall in the fee collection rate, which stands at nearly 100% with the current system. In response, the channel announced that it'll take the matter to the Constitutional Court, claiming the revision was against the law. It said the separation of the fee collection will only make matters more complicated for the people, and it'll cost more to collect the fees, which it claims makes no sense. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The number of people getting married in South Korea continues to show a downward trend, while the number of births also remains on its continuous decline. Data from Statistics Korea on Tuesday showed the number of marriages last year came in at 192,000, more than 100,000 less than that recorded in 1970. The number of births in the country dropped in tandem with the fall in marriage numbers, with 249,000 babies being born last year, less than half of what was recorded a decade ago. Among people aged between 25 to 49 in 2020, unmarried men made up about 47% and unmarried women nearly 33%. Following Russian figure skater Adelina Sotnikova's public admission of a positive doping results during the 2014 Winter Olympics, the Korean Sport and Olympic Committee has announced its intent to request an investigation by the Olympics governing body. If the IOC confirms the initial doping results, the repercussions could be significant. 신세벽 reports.
Will figure skating medals from the 2014 Winter Olympics be re-awarded? South Korea's top sports body said Tuesday that it will ask the International Olympic Committee to investigate a recent doping admission by Russian figure skater Adelina Sotnikova, who, in 2014 at the Sochi Winter Olympics, beat South Korean defending champion Kim Yeon-ah for a controversial gold. At the time, the Russian skater's victory raised eyebrows after she made a critical stumble following a jump. It sparked quite a controversy surrounding the fairness of the judging process. The Korean Sport Olympic Committee's recent move comes as Sotnikova publicly admitted in a YouTube video last week that she had tested positive for a banned substance during the 2014 Winter Olympics, but was cleared following subsequent tests. What the substance was has not been disclosed, but the video has since been removed. In sports doping, it is considered rare for an athlete to test positive in their initial drug test, but then test negative in the following test. If the IOC were to reanalyze Sotnikova's sample and confirm her positive doping results, her gold medal could be taken from her. There are a number of past instances where positive doping results have emerged during post-competition testing, resulting in medals being awarded to someone else. A prominent example is Chang Mi-ran, a former South Korean weightlifter. Chang finished in 4th place at the 2012 London Olympics, but later she was moved up to 3rd place after the event bronze medalist failed a doping test. If Sotnikova is stripped of her medal, Kim Yeon-ah will earn the gold medal nearly a decade after the event. 신세벽, Arirang News.
Korea is sharing its rice production technology with its counterparts in Africa as part of efforts to bolster the continent's food self-sufficiency. Our Lee Soo-jin has details.
South Korea is accelerating efforts to expand its K-Ricebelt project. The nation signed MOUs on Monday with 8 African countries to establish rice cultivation facilities and provide the necessary infrastructure to meet growing demand on the continent. The K-Ricebelt project seeks to produce 10,000 tons of rice seeds each year starting in 2027 in the 8 African nations. That's expected to supply enough rice for around 30 million people. The participating countries are Ghana, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Gambia, Senegal, Cameroon, Uganda, and Kenya. But other nations are also welcome to participate as South Korea is ready to share its experience of going from an aid recipient to an aid donor with more countries.
We would like to see all 23 countries in Africa that we're currently working with participate in the program, as we want to contribute to helping Africa overcome its food crisis based on our own experiences.
The project is especially meaningful because the K-Ricebelt project contributes to South Korea's sustainable development goals.
We're trying to solve famine in Africa. As such, this is ultimately contributing to sustainable agriculture as well as the UN SDGs.
Rice consumption in sub-Saharan Africa has been increasing by 6% each year. But because most African countries have not yet achieved rice self-sufficiency, regional output covers only 60% of the demand, making them more vulnerable to food insecurity. We sat down with the Republic of Guinea's Minister of Agriculture and Livestock to ask him what the K-Ricebelt project means to his country.
Thanks to the relationship with South Korea, which can allow us to increase rice productivity so that we can move from 1.5 tons per hectare to at least 5 to 6 tons per hectare.
He's also not too concerned about the challenges that may arise because of the way the K-Ricebelt has been designed.
Not just a financing support, it's also a technical support. It's also a technological transfer project.
He said that's why he believes that this will have a huge impact on Guinea. He added that he, along with the other ministers, will be visiting Korea's rice production and farming equipment facilities during their visit. 이수진, Arirang News.
Torrential downpours will once again batter some regions overnight. For now, heavy rain alerts are in place for a large part of inland regions, including here in Seoul. The ground is already very saturated and weak due to previous downpours. Please continue to monitor the potential for localized flooding in low-lying areas. Hotter spells are in the forecast nationwide. For Daegu, maximum temperatures will be hiking up to 33 degrees Celsius. Keep in mind that the combination of heat and increased moisture levels in the air will make conditions feel stuffy and hot. As for the amount of rainfall, Jeollabuk-do province will see the most amount of rain with up to 200 millimeters. Parts of central regions, including the Seoul metropolitan area, can expect up to 120. For Chungcheong-do provinces, locally heavy downpours are in the forecast overnight, as rain clouds will be heavily clustered across the region. Morning temperatures in Seoul, Daejeon, and Busan will all be starting off at 24 degrees. Daytime highs will be about 1 to 4 degrees higher than today. Seoul and Gwangju will get up to 30, Gyeongju 32, Busan will be reaching 28 degrees. This coming Thursday, the entire nation will see another round of monsoonal showers. It's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is News Center for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.